SBL is really different to the other ACCA exams. And we get so many odd questions from students. So many things that we read and go, oh no, really? So what we thought we'd do here is clear up some of these myths. We're going to bust them for you right here, right now.
Myth number one is that SBL is easy. Well, you just need to look at the global pass rates to see that isn't the case. Roughly 1 in 2, roughly 50% of students don't pass SBL in every single exam sitting. So how is it easy? Now, some people find it easier than others. It is a really application-based and skills-based exam. Some people love writing, it comes naturally to them, and then they may find this a bit easier than others. Other people have to really work at that skill. But the good news is, with the right technique and the right skills, everyone can pass this exam. And that's stuff we love to do at Club SBL, is train people in those really specific skills and get them through the exam. So is SBL easy? With the right skills and the right technique, it can be, but not everyone finds it so in the first place.
Myth 2, you must do SBL last of all. Must be your last exam. You can do it last, right? But you don't have to. In fact, I think you could do SBL at any point in the last stage of your kind of ACCA studies. Any order at the strategic professional level with SBL is okay. Andrew, what do you normally advise students when they ask you about where to sit it?
It's a tough one. SBL, I do like it being last because it is so standalone. It's a very different exam. So sort of doing it at the end on its own does make sense, almost as the grand finale.
Yeah.
But the skills that you learn in SBL, they're so useful in other subjects, aren't they? Like all the writing style that we teach and how to plan properly and how to use the exhibits, all that stuff is so useful in other exams.
Totally.
So I'm sort of like, I think it's okay to do it anywhere, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose.
I actually find with my technical subject with advanced auditing, if students have already done SBL, they tend to have really good writing technique fundamentals that are really useful in AAA. So you could say better to do SBL before advanced auditing, but then you can totally reverse that round and say when someone's developed their writing skills in the advanced auditing exam, then they tend to do better in SBL. So it's kind of 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Yeah, it doesn't matter too much. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, don't overthink it. But I mean, there's part of me that, and I do think there's merit in this, when students sit it later, they tend to have a bit more experience at work and a bit more real life, real world experience. That means that they deal with the exam scenarios slightly better. So there could be a little advantage to waiting, but I don't think that's a big deal.
Myth number 3 is that you can do SBL alongside other exams really easily. So I hear a lot of people saying this, SBL, it's all written, there aren't really any calculations. It'll be fine just to tag that along.
Yeah, there's not much to learn, just do it alongside another one.
It's just about skills, and you can just tag that on alongside like a advanced financial management, like my subject or something. It's going to make life really hard. Like this, you need to really practice this, and you need to commit. So Ben, I think we're in agreement, aren't we, that we tend to advise students just do one exam at a time.
Definitely.
Like, ACCA are very kind. Like exams every 3 months. You don't have to wait long until the next sitting.
Yeah.
Doing 2 at once puts real pressure on you.
And particularly with SBL, it's that last 2 weeks of exam prep. Once the pre-scene gets released, it is quite intense with SBL.
It is.
And it can overload you, and you don't, you run the very real risk of failing both rather than it taking you longer.
But not only that, also burning out and just losing enthusiasm, don't you? And having to sacrifice loads of other commitments. And I'd always advise just do one at a time.
Yeah.
Focus on that. Enjoy it as well. Like it allows you to enjoy it. If you do 2 at the same time, I don't think you're going to enjoy either of them. But SBL is genuinely a fun subject. So take a bit of time and give yourself a break.
There is an element of, it depends on the student situation. You know, if someone's in full-time work and they've got 3 kids and they care for an elderly relative, then that person, I mean, even doing 1 exam is heroic. Trying to do 2 is what? Yeah. Whereas if you're not in full-time work and you don't have kids or caring responsibilities, and you're just putting your social life or sport on hold for a little while, then maybe doing 2 is fine. But it depends on the personal circumstances. But in general, just do 1 and pass it. Next myth is about the models. The models are critical for SBL. Now, if you go through the syllabus, and if you look at the study text for SBL, there are all of these technical, theoretical models. There's about 60 of them in the syllabus. And it looks like you need to know them in real detail and memorize all of the names of the models and all the different headings and all this sort of stuff. Now, in the reality, the exam questions are heavily scenario-based. And sometimes a model can help you to think of more ideas. Sometimes it can give you a structure for your answer. So sometimes it's helpful. But actually, most of the time, the models hurt you. If you've learned loads about the model, the student then gets really tempted to just write lots about the model, lots of rote-learned, generic, pre-learned stuff about that model, because they've learned it. I want to show it off. And that scores no marks. So, using the models where appropriate is a good thing. But overdoing it and having to and memorizing all of them, you definitely do not need to.
And it's also worth adding, you can get marks without using the models, can't you? If this is a risk, identifying risks, and the model answers might have used Pestle, for example, because it's a good model to use there. But if you just talked about the risks from the exhibit and discussed them one by one, you get marks. It's not a problem. You don't have to. It's not like, oh, you had to use this model to get the marks. So yeah, don't put too much pressure. And I think people try and force them in too much, don't they? I think, I must force this model in, when actually just using some common sense and making general points.
And using the scenario. If the scenario. If the scenario drives your answer in SBL, then you're onto a winner. And it might be that the model gives you a framework and a structure to help a bit, but just use the scenario.
Okay, myth number 5 is that there is no time pressure in SBL. This is a nice and chilled exam, and you can just take your time, read the exhibits. Not the case. There is a lot to get through. Like, you can have 3 tasks. They're all big. There's a lot to do. You've got these big exhibits to read, and you've got planning to do. You've got to get all those sentences written properly. So you can't slow down. And in one of our key skills we teach at Club SBL is about time management and allocating time to each requirement and sticking to it. Really focusing on each requirement at a time and then moving on once that time is up. So there is a real discipline to this. So don't get complacent. I'd agree that it's probably less time pressured than some other exams in ACCA, which are crazy, but that doesn't mean you can relax. You've got to make sure you are getting through it, and you've got to be really disciplined with your time.
I agree. And so I teach, AAA is my main technical subject. AAA is more time pressured than SBL. It is. There's no getting away from it. Yeah. But the time pressure is real in SBL, and you can easily lose track of time and overrun. And it's really important, I think, for students that they are practicing questions against the clock. I think in SBL particularly, a lot of students don't do that. They don't practice questions to time because they're using an old case study, or they're not taking it seriously, or for whatever reason, they just seem to do it less than in other technical subjects. So practicing questions against the clock so you get used to that time pressure and get used to managing it, really important. Myth 6, clever points score more marks. Clever points in SBL, really you should try to avoid them. Anything where you're like, oh, this is impressive. Oh, I'm showing off that. Check me out, right? I have got it. That sort of point becomes big, right? Because a complicated point takes longer to explain. It'll be worth the same amount of credit as a simple point, but it takes you a lot longer to explain. And very often, your complicated point is where you've gone off on a bit of a tangent, where you've gone down a slightly different path to the examiner, the marker, others, and they read your point and they don't necessarily agree with it because it's too complicated. It's think about this A, B, C, D, E, when actually the answer was just A. So just keep it really, really simple, and your answers are more likely to score marks, and you're more likely to stick to time.
We've seen some really, really intelligent students come to us who've failed SBL elsewhere. But I just don't understand why I'm failing this. And when we mark their scripts, you look at it and go, you're massively overcomplicating this exam. You're doing this as if it's some sort of incredibly complex. Trying to get these niche little points, and it's like, whoa, look at the exhibit. Look what's happened. Just say that, and they're like, oh, really? It's like, honestly,
simple,
it's that easy.
Obvious things score. You won't believe how obvious the points are that are in the mark schemes.
Yes,
so simple,
exactly.
so
Do that. Keep it simple. Myth number 7 is that you need to use real life examples in your answers in SBL. And actually, the reality is real life examples can just be a distraction. And this is the case, as Ben was just saying about overcomplicating things. People are like, oh, I know something about this country, or I've got some knowledge about interest rates in Kazakhstan that I'm going to drop into my answer. doing that it's not going to be on the mark scheme. The marker's going to be like, well, why are you saying this? You need to stick to the company that you're dealing with, and you need to stick to the scenario you've been given, the exhibits, and use that information predominantly. Don't speculate. Don't start linking to things that you're seeing in the real world. Generally, I'd just say, just don't worry. I mean, if there's a really, really obvious real world thing that you want to quickly mention, get it in there really quickly, move on if you really can't resist the urge. But definitely don't go off on a political rant or start telling them all about the economy of this country that you know about. Honestly, you're not going to get any marks. So as a general rule, I just avoid real life examples.
And as Andrew said, like, if you are going to talk about this sort of stuff, make it the last thing in your answer. Maybe your answer is using the scenario to answer the question. And that won't be bringing in real world examples. Myth 8, the pre-scene is absolutely critical. Well, the pre-scene is important. Right? The pre-scene is helpful, but it's not the most important thing. Now, in the exam, the pre-scene we're talking about here, 2 weeks before the exam, we are given a document that tells us about the case study company and the wider industry that it sits in. And it's kind of background research that helps you for the exam. But the really important thing for passing, the critical thing, is that you respond to whatever you are told on exam day. And you'll be given lots of new information in the exam, things that weren't in the pre-scene. And where the pre-scene can be a bit dangerous is where a student has memorized it and formed lots of ideas about what they want to write in their answer, no matter what the question actually asks, or no matter what the scenario is. The reality is you need to respond to what is in the scenario. And some of that might mean using a bit of stuff from the pre-scene to support your answer. But the main thrust of your answer has to be responding to the challenge that the company is facing right there on exam day, not writing what you learn in your research. So the pre-scene is useful and helpful, but the main thing is responding to the exam scenario with the pre-scene as your support rather than the other way around.
That's it. 8 myths that we've heard about SBL, and we have busted them. So hopefully you know a lot more about SBL and the truth and what you need to do to pass. So make sure you subscribe for more tips just like this. And if you want support from Ben and me personally to help get you through SBL, you can join us at Club SBL as well. So take care and thanks for watching.